I never thought a simple flight could turn into a masterclass in patience, power, and poetic justice. But that's exactly what happened that day. It started like any ordinary morning at the Seattle airport. My parents, Thomas and Helen, were both in their 80s, moving slowly but gracefully through the terminal. My mom, elegant as ever, leaned gently on her cane, her pearl earrings catching the light. My dad trailed right behind her, clutching his small black carry-on like it held the crown jewels. It was their first time flying first class, a little dream they'd saved for after decades of raising kids and paying bills. I wanted it to be perfect for them. Just a smooth, quiet flight to visit my sister in Florida. But, oh boy, fate had other plans. Boarding went fine at first. The attendant smiled. The usual pre-flight buzz filled the air, and I remember thinking, maybe this will actually be easy. Then they showed up, two women who walked down that aisle like they owned the airline. The first, Tiffany, wore a tight red jumpsuit that shimmered like a stop sign under the cabin lights. She had those oversized sunglasses that said, "I don't wait for anyone." The second, her sister Brittany, had that polished influencer look, short blonde hair, expensive perfume that hit you 3 rows away, and a phone glued to her hand like it was part of her DNA. Together, they were a walking storm of entitlement. They strutted up to row 1, our row, and that's when everything took a sharp turn. Tiffany stopped in front of my mom, planted herself like a traffic cone, and snapped, "Excuse me, these are our seats." My mom blinked, calm and kind, like she thought it was just a misunderstanding. "Oh, sweetheart," she said softly, "you might be mistaken. These are seats 1A and 1B, ours." Brittany scoffed, holding out her phone with a dramatic flip of her wrist. "We're together, row 1, window and aisle." "Look," I leaned in to check, and sure enough, it said row 2. My mom smiled again, polite as ever. "Oh, you're right behind us then. No big deal." But Tiffany wasn't having it. She raised an eyebrow, that kind of look people give when they think they're too important to be corrected. "No, no," she said, her voice rising just enough for everyone to hear. "I don't sit behind anyone, especially not after paying for first class." That's when the cabin went silent. Heads turned. You could feel the air change. My dad cleared his throat, quiet but firm. "Ma'am, please. We just need to sit down. My wife has a knee condition." Tiffany laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Well, if she's that fragile, maybe she shouldn't be flying first class." Something in me burned. I wanted to say something, anything, but my mom reached out, gently squeezing my hand. Her voice dropped low, calm and deliberate. "Not now, son," she whispered. "Let's see how far they'll go." And that's when I realized she wasn't scared. She was watching, calculating. The flight attendant came over, smiling tight, clearly uncomfortable. "Ladies, we'll verify the seat numbers. Please take your seats for now." But the sisters just stood there, still arguing, still insisting there had been a mistake. The attendant checked and confirmed what we already knew. Our seats were correct. Row 1 belonged to us. But Tiffany and Brittany refused to move. The tension thickened. Passengers shifted in their seats. Some started filming. My mom sat down quietly, her posture straight, her expression calm. But her eyes? Her eyes were sharp as glass. The captain's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated while we resolve a minor seat issue in first class." That was the moment my mom smiled. Just slightly. Like she'd been waiting for the world to take notice. Once we were airborne, things only got more ridiculous. The sisters finally slumped into row 2, but acted like they'd been downgraded to the cargo hold. Tiffany waved at the attendants like she was calling a servant. "Champagne. And make it cold this time." Brittany flipped her hair and snapped. "Do you have the good snacks yet? The ones in the gold bag." I could feel my blood boiling again, but my mom leaned in and whispered, "Patience, son. Watch how this plays out." Then she did something so subtle I almost missed it. She motioned for the attendant, leaned forward, and whispered something. The attendant listened, then smiled faintly and walked away. My mom leaned back, eyes closed, like she'd just played her opening move. Minutes later, the supervisor arrived, clipboard in hand, tone polite but firm. "Ladies, we're rechecking the first-class manifests. There appears to be an issue with your boarding data." Tiffany smirked. "Finally, maybe now you'll fix your mistake." But the supervisor didn't look convinced. He checked his tablet, then his notes, then looked up. "Actually, it seems your seats were never confirmed for row 1. You were assigned row 2 all along. The color drained from Tiffany's face. Brittany blinked fast, still trying to fake confidence. That's impossible. I booked these weeks ago. The supervisor shook his head gently. We verified the records. There was no upgrade authorization for your names. You could feel the energy in the cabin shift. Phones came out again, discreetly, but everyone was watching. Tiffany started raising her voice, throwing around words like harassment and refund, but the captain's voice cut through the cabin, calm but authoritative. Ladies, please understand that all seat assignments have been confirmed. Continued refusal to comply may result in further consequences upon landing. And that was the nail in the coffin. The sisters froze. Then Tiffany huffed, grabbed her champagne glass, and stood up with exaggerated dignity. This is ridiculous, she muttered, her voice trembling with anger. Brittany followed, clutching her designer bag like it could save her pride. As they moved back to row 2, my mom leaned toward the attendant and said quietly, "Please make sure any drinks they've ordered are added to their tab." The attendant grinned, trying not to laugh. "Of course, ma'am." The rest of the cabin couldn't help but react. Small smiles, quiet chuckles, a few nods of approval. Justice had landed midair. My mom sat back, finally relaxing. She took a sip of water, then glanced at me with that knowing look only moms have. "See, son, you don't always need to fight back loud. Sometimes patience and truth do the fighting for you." My dad chuckled softly. "You've still got it, Helen." She winked. "Always did." As we began our descent into Miami, Tiffany and Brittany sat stiffly in their seats, avoiding everyone's eyes. Their earlier glamour had melted into silence. You could almost feel their embarrassment hanging in the air like turbulence. And when we finally landed, airline staff met them at the gate for verification purposes. The kind of verification that meant you're about to be on a list somewhere. As we walked off the plane, passengers smiled at my mom. One woman whispered, "You handled that beautifully." My mom just smiled and said, "Sometimes dignity speaks louder than anger." Outside, as we waited for our ride, I asked her, "You planned that from the start, didn't you?" She gave a small laugh, adjusting her pearl earrings. "Of course I did. Those women didn't need a fight. They needed a mirror." We drove away into the Florida sun, the chaos of that flight already becoming one of those stories you know you'll be telling for years. And when I told my mom that, she grinned and said, "Good. Maybe next time, people will learn not to mess with old ladies in first class." So now I'm asking you, what do you think? Was my mom right to stay calm and let the system work? Or should we have stood up and confronted those women head on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know where you stand on the line between patience and justice. And hey, if you've ever seen karma unfold at 30,000 feet, hit that like button. Because trust me, nothing flies faster than poetic payback.